Hi everyone and welcome. Today we're going to go over the most effective exercises to help improve bone density. Today I'll be demonstrating the LIFTMOR trial exercises and going over each one and talking about how to modify them to make them more appropriate if you are new or starting out. Hi, I'm Dr. Lisa. I'm a physical therapist and I'm an expert in osteoporosis and bone health exercise. I'm also the founder of Brickhouse Bones. And the LIFTMOR trial is one of the groundbreaking pieces of research we have that tells us high intensity resistance training can be beneficial for postmenopausal women with osteoporosis and increase bone density. It's important to break down what each exercise was, but I know that that's not really achievable for every person or in everyone's skill set. So I want to provide some options for you to consider. But here's what I really want you to consider. The LIFTMOR trial was supervised exercises. These people were trained in the movements for weeks prior to adding any weight or load. It's really helpful whenever possible to get one-on-one training from a professional in bone health exercise or a professional in these exercises that I'm going to show you so that you can be confident you're doing them correctly. That's really key. That's what I did when I found out I had low bone density in my hips. I went working with a trainer that I know was highly skilled in these particular moves so I could learn to do them right. So please be smart as you review this information. I hope that you're able to utilize it so that you can feel strong and confident and capable and continue to do the things you love. So let's break it down. All right, so the LIFTMOR trial was done on postmenopausal females with low bone density and very low bone density. And they also reproduced this trial on men. So these types of exercises are beneficial whether you're male or female and you want to protect or increase your bone density. The other thing to know is this was high intensity resistance training. So they were performing these 4 exercises: a back squat, a deadlift, a shoulder press, and a jumping pull-up. They were doing 5 repetitions, 5 sets. So that intensity, and then working at a level of intensity that was about 80 to 85% of their 1 repetition maximum. 1 repetition maximum, that's the most weight you can lift one time. Now, I don't test that on my clients with low bone density because it's not the safest thing to try to assess, but we have other ways of measuring it. And I used the rate of perceived exertion. So if my client is doing 5 repetitions of their back squat, I will ask them to rate that on a scale of 0 to 10, where 10 is, I'm done, I could not do 1 more repetition. An 8 is, I could maybe do 2 more perfect quality repetitions. So an 8.5 is right in between there. Maybe I could do 1 or 1.5 more reps. So that's how intense they were working. Really pretty hard. And I want you to know, and I went over this in my other video talking about do we need to lift heavy, that we have nice evidence to support the use of moderate intensity exercises too. So high intensity is really great, but it doesn't have to be required for every person or every situation. But today we're going to go over the LIFTMOR exercises. So they were doing 5 sets of 5 repetitions, and that's what we're gonna look at. Let's start with the back squat. Okay, so the bar is set at about shoulder height. I have a weight that I know is safe for me on this bar. I've already warmed up. The bar is across the top of my shoulders, not my neck. So it's across the meaty, broad part of the shoulders. As I'm under the bar, I'm just standing up, stepping back. Feet are going to be slightly wider than my hips for me. That's my comfortable squat position. I'm going to keep my heart up and open. Take a nice deep breath in. Squat. Exhale. And then walk it back. So that is a barbell back squat, but let's look at ways we can break that down. Okay, so one of the very first things you can do for a squat-like maneuver is a sit to stand exercise. Sit, stand. This is working the same muscles. We're hinging at the hips and knees, keeping a straight back, even though it's angled forward, just like this. That is a sit to stand exercise. Everyone should be doing some sort of hinge and sit to stand like that. It's one of the most functional exercises you can do to maintain your independence. From there, we need to load it. We need to load more than body weight if we're able to do that. So here's a couple ways to do that. We can start with a dumbbell. I like to hold it in this goblet fashion on my chest, and I do that because as I hold that position there, it forces me to lift my heart up, and that's turning the muscles in my back on that are protective of the spine. So I hold this goblet squat position, touch, and go to the bench. So this is one progression of a squat using load. Let me show you another. You could have two dumbbells side by side in your hands. Okay, I like to hold them at the end so they're just hanging down. And you may say, well, Lisa, the barbell back squat, the weight was on your back. Is this the same thing? I want to say it's very similar. The load in my hands is pulling down through my shoulders, through my skeleton. So it's still adding load through my whole frame, my whole skeleton, through my arms versus on top of my back. Load is load. Okay, so I have it in my hands, doing a squat again, squat to the bench. As you get stronger and better, you can air squat, no bench. So this adds a layer of safety, and that air squat is a progression. You can also use a kettlebell. I love using kettlebells on the chest for the goblet squat. Chest up, squat back. Same thing as the dumbbell, just a little different hand position. You can also have the weights positioned up here on top of your shoulders. So this would be more closely mimicking the weight up here on your shoulders, like the barbell, doing your squats to a box or chair, or air squats. So the weight can be up on the shoulders. So this is a great beginning place to start, and I include many of these options in both my beginner, intermediate, and advanced videos. All right, next up we're showing you the deadlift, and the deadlift to me is the trickiest of all these to really get right and where we most benefit from having a trainer give us cues. So a lot of times people will send me videos of themselves doing this. These are my clients to make sure that they're doing it correctly. So always good to get feedback on this move, and I'm showing you this angle so you can see the relationship of my hips, my knees, my shin angle, as well as my spine when we're in the right position. So deadlift traditionally starts with the bar on the floor. I'm going to come up so that my laces are under the bar, and I like my feet to be about hip width apart. And the hips are going to go back for this. So that's how I approach the bar as we get ready. Hips go back, grabbing a hold of the bar, and then one of the cues I give is to break the bar and broaden the chest. So a big open heart as we get ready, and that, if you see the difference between gripping the bar and open the heart, that turns on the muscles in the upper back, that locks in the lats, and that gives us the stability through the spine as we are lifting the weight. So into position, break the bar, open the heart, tuck the chin, and I push the floor away, push the hips forward, up to standing tall. It's not a backward bend. Hips go back, knees soften, weight comes back to the floor. Keep that chin tucked. Press, hips come forward. Hips reach back, chest comes down. So that is a deadlift. And doing that right sequence and making sure we have those spinal muscles turned on is a really important key. Here's some other ways we can begin to work on that hip hinge move. So one of the ways I teach this deadlift to beginners was, one, I always make sure they can do a proper hinge with a straight spine. So we always start with making sure somebody can hinge with a long spine. So that's part one. And then we begin to load it. And I can start it in a smaller range of motion by elevating the weight on blocks. My feet are going to come up beside the weight. My hips are going to go back. I'm going to grab the weight and broaden my chest. So this is the same exact position that I had with the bar. Now what I want you to notice also is my shin angle. So as my hips go back, we shouldn't see movement of my knee forward or backwards. We should not see that movement. We might see the knees bend slightly, but the knee is still on top of the ankle. It's not coming forward over my toes, or for a lot of people, as I see their hips go back, their weight's on their heels and their toes come up. So then they're not balanced. So we want this vertical shin angle as the hips reach back and the chest comes down. There's that vertical shin angle. And if you're on your heels, now I'm not on my heels. On my heels, toes are coming up, not on my heels. It's just a matter of shifting your whole body slightly forward. It's not bending the knees more. So in this position, broad chest, stand. Reach the hips back, lower the weight directly. Notice my arms are relaxed. Weight lowers directly to the block. Good. Reset. Broaden the chest. Push the floor away. Stand. Reach back. So that's one way to begin a deadlift practice. Let me show you another. You can start in a standing position with dumbbells. So you can have dumbbells in both hands, the same starting position as if you'd already lifted your weight, or reach the hips back, let the weight come just below the knees. I still have a broad open chest. I have my chin tucked. I have my correct shin angle. I press through the feet and come back up to tall. Hinge the hips back. Come back up to tall. The error I see people do often is they'll lock the knees out, do this, and the weight is way in front of the body. So that would not be accurate. Look at how my shin angle is now. So we want to keep the weight close to the body. Hips reach back. Hands are just right on my knees. My forearms are literally touching my knees. And back up. The other error I see is people will round at the spine. So we have to say open heart and broad chest. That's really important in doing this move correctly. Okay, coming up for the shoulder press. So this is exercise number 3 in the LIFTMOR trial. I'm using a women's Olympic bar that's going to be approximately 33 pounds. They also have lighter bars here. I have a 15-pound bar here for my beginners. So there are always lighter weight options to start with for folks. So get up close to the bar, bring it up on top of the collarbones here. Wrists are back, elbows are forward, core is braced. So we're maintaining this nice, strong, tall posture with a lot of stability through our middle body. And then the weight gets pressed straight up overhead and then back to the collarbones. We want to have very little trunk movement. We don't want to be leaning back. It presses up. And we want it overhead so that direction of force is right down through our arms and through our skeleton. So right back here, press straight up, straight down, straight up, straight down. And we can absolutely show ways to build on that to get to that level. Let's go there next. Okay, first, you saw my arms straight up overhead. We need good shoulder mobility to really do that well. So if you can't raise your arms any higher than this, then that needs to be worked on first. Okay, from there, then we can begin by just doing full body reaches and back down. Full body reach, just getting used to having our arms up overhead if that's not something we have been doing. Then we can add our TheraBand exercises. Now, I do these in a lot of my beginner videos. So anchor one hand on the thigh, grab the rubber band, and we're going to reach up 5 to 10 times. Reach up with the other side to begin to build some of that overhead strength. That is a great way to do it. Then we can work one side at a time, bracing through the core to make sure we're not laterally flexing the spine. So we have that core turned on, and press one hand at a time up to the sky. So I'm just stepping on the band. So you could use that as a modification to work on that overhead press. Just repeat that on each side. And still, you can do the 5 sets of 5, or because it's lower intensity, you could do 3 to 4 sets, 10 to 15, depending on your ability. Now, if you cannot reach up overhead, but you can reach here, we can change that push slightly using bands. Now, I have my bands anchored down low at about the height of my ankles, and I have my hands here right in front of my chest, and I'm going to push up at an angle. If that's the height that your shoulders go, then this is a nice alternative for you to do with bands. Okay, and then slam the bands on the floor. Lastly, we have the power position shoulder press using dumbbells. So this is my power position, elbows in front of my shoulders, wrist in front of my shoulders. My wrist is on top of my elbow. My hand is right in front of my shoulders. Shoulder press. Back down. So here you could start with soup cans if you wanted to. 1 pound weight. You can gradually progress that as you get stronger. So it's important to know you get to start where you are and you don't need to compare yourself to anyone else. But dumbbells are a great way to mimic that barbell shoulder press using the same motion but much lighter weights so that you can start at a safe spot for you. All right, I showed you several ways to make those easier. Now I'm going to show you one way to make it harder so we get even more explosive movement and more impact on our bones. All right, a push press is a variation of a shoulder press, but it allows you to use a little bit of leg drive, and for that reason, it's more explosive. It's a quick movement. I'll show you with the weights here in a second. So we start in this power position like we do for the regular shoulder press. With a push press, we do a small dip and explode the weight by driving through the legs. And with this, we get more ground reaction forces through our skeleton. This is a power move. It involves speed and explosiveness, not just strength. So I love adding a push press to my routines, and I put it in a lot of my advanced routines. So if you like some of the advanced exercises, these kinds of things are in my build program. So a push press looks like this. So a little dip, boom, pop that weight overhead, bring it back, reset, explode, reset, load the spring, explode. It's not a thruster. We're not going all the way down. We're just doing a little bitty dip and driving through the legs to get that weight overhead. That adds a lot of muscular force, power, and speed, the kind of stimulus our bones like to adapt and grow stronger. Up next, we have the jumping pull-up to wrap up these LIFTMOR exercises. Okay, so we have the jumping pull-up portion. So this is doing two things. They've got a pull-up underhanded grip on the bar, which is going to work grip strength and muscles in the forearm. And they're doing a jump, which is an impact move. We're increasing ground reaction forces as we push off the ground, and we're getting impact as we land. And in the beginning, the impact is flat feet, soft knees. We have a little bit of spring. So people can adapt and get used to impact before making it more jarring, we'll say. So with less flexibility in the knees. The bar was and within height that the people could reach. And so they would jump, bend the knees to absorb some of the force as they were getting accustomed to that impact. So they had some control over how high they were jumping and how hard they were landing. Now, you can progress that by moving the bar up higher and getting a higher jump. And you can progress that by less knee bend as we land. So we don't land on locked knees, but you can have less of a spring response while you land on flat feet. So that's the jumping pull-up from the LIFTMOR trial. Let's look at ways to modify those ground reaction forces, those pulling forces, and that impact. So one modification, if you're at a gym and you have these strong straps or bands, the green is one of the stronger ones, you can loop it around a bar and do a band-assisted jump. So a pull and a jump. That's one way. Let's show you another. Okay, many gyms will have TRX straps, and I do this a lot with clients when we're beginning jumping. Use the balance and support, the assist, so my arms are assisting with the pull for me to leave the ground, so that's an assisted jump, just like it was with the pull-up bar. So this is another way to do it. Again, allowing soft knees as you're beginning that, landing on flat feet as you're able. Changing the height of your jump as you get stronger and as you get better. All right, the other option for really beginning that little bit of impact training, you can use the back of a chair and push off that chair. And just work on just getting a little bit of push off through your feet, a little bit of push off through your arms. And what does that feel like to absorb that force? That's a real nice baby step into impact with a little bit of assistance. So there you have a breakdown of the exercises used in the LIFTMOR trial and how you can look at modifying those that maybe they might be appropriate for you in your workouts. If you follow any of my workouts and videos, you'll see that I have these exact same moves at more beginner and intermediate level for people who are exercising at home and don't have that same gym equipment. And as I reminded you before, getting one-on-one assistance to make sure you're doing these moves right and at the right intensity for you can be really critical in making sure you proceed safely and effectively and injury-free. Now, if you want to do just the LIFTMOR program, there is a licensed program that they have called Onero. Now, I'm not Onero certified, but there are some available throughout the world, and the researcher has really helped to kind of maintain the integrity of the LIFTMOR trial exercises in the Onero program. Now, one of the things I wish it had was a sense of variability, not the same exercises all the time, and a bit of periodization. And periodization is a term used in strength training where through different parts of the year, you have a different focus. Sometimes the focus is pure strength, sometimes it's speed, sometimes it's power, and we vary the amount of reps and sets and intensity, which helps to reduce risk of injury, reduce overtraining, and allow for the body to have different adaptations because we're not giving it the same exact stimulus all the time. So this is what I like to incorporate in my program. So a lot of my intermediate programs have a great variety of exercises and moves, all that are designed for bone health based on the research. And my build program of exercises is for experienced people only, people that are already lifting weights that are very, very comfortable with these moves. But these are 45 and 50 minutes complete body exercises at the intensity that we're looking for to create the change that we want. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out in the notes down below. Hey, if this video was helpful, I would be most grateful if you'd share it with others that you know would appreciate it, and leave me a comment down below on any other types of videos you would like to see me make. Thank you so much.